Micky, hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm well.
Great.
I'm well.
You're at the Goose.
Yeah, we're at the Goose. How's it going?
Great. Hot.
Yes.
Moist.
Oh.
And fun.
Okay. Okay.
That's how I like it.
Gonna keep this G-rated.
Yeah, I know.
You know, one of the reasons I was really excited about having a chance to talk to you is because you've been with this for a while.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change that you think you've seen over this period of time?
I think the biggest change is that we keep making new spaces and trying new things, so that there's more for people to do. There's more for all kinds of people. So I remember years ago when we barely had any kind of family stuff. Like we didn't have the infant tent where, you know, parents could take their infant and play for a little while with toys. So you don't have to pack every toy from back home. You know, we didn't have the robust children's activities.
Wow.
We didn't have a teen tent.
Okay, I can't imagine
Right?
this without kids.
The first year we did a teen tent, we had bales of hay that we covered with sheets to make into couches. Okay?
Bless.
And that was just a few of us that were like, we should probably throw something together for the teenagers. And enough of the teenagers saying, hey, actually, we want stuff for us. And so that we have been able to respond to the needs and respond to the desires and say, how do we actually make this a more inclusive space, which usually is code for a very particular thing, right? Like, oh, that means we're inclusive of LGBTQ or some marginalized folks, but you know, where is the space for the young people? Where are the spaces where we can talk about things that we don't usually talk about? And so I think we have continued, that's one of the ways it's evolved, is just continuing to try something new and create a new space, have spaces where people can do their own thing. Like you'll see mandalas just out where people have done that, right? And that was people saying, that's one of the ways we want to mark our time here.
Sure.
Is to have something like that that's spiritual. So it's just, it continues to be, I guess, more and more co-created.
Yes, yes. Oh, look at you, getting the branding in.
I mean, you know.
I'm wondering about that word inclusion and inclusivity. I look around the Goose, I look around the activities, I look around and see a certain kind of inclusivity and a certain kind of diversity.
For sure.
But, I mean, for instance, where I come from in Massachusetts, I'm regularly raising the question of where are the native people?
Yeah.
Where are the indigenous people of this land? And I asked that question about the Goose.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, who do you not see here that you'd like to see here at the Goose? And do you have any idea how to get them here?
Well, this
Easy
is something that also, I mean, I think, as you know, I've been involved with Wild Goose in a variety of ways over the years. I started my very first year as a volunteer, so I've never just come to like just enjoy the festival, which, you know, I still enjoy it, even though I've always been involved in some level. And so I think people can rest assured they can come as a volunteer and still enjoy it, right? Because I've always done that. And then getting more involved in programming and now, you know, mostly as a speaker, but that has been something we have always struggled with, is how do we get the people who aren't here? How do we get more people of color, more indigenous folks, and people of color are not a monolith, so all kinds of people of color. And it has gone up and down. There have been years with more and years with less. And I have a lot of ideas about it. I think relationships is one thing. You have to have relationships with organizations and faith communities and individuals who people will see and be like, oh, I want to be a part of that because that person's a part of that. Or we're all going to go as a group and experience this, right? You have to actually have those relationships in order to get people to come. And then I think we have to have content and programming and music that those people want to see. right? Like when I don't see any music on the schedule that is appealing to me, then I don't feel like this is for me.
Right.
I have relationships now with people that keep me coming back. But if you don't have that, why would you come to a bunch of programming that doesn't seem like it's for you? Especially if the co-creators don't look like you, or
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. So I think, and I think there is something around the marketing, right? Like there is something that isn't calling out to particular people.
Right.
But I think that's it: marketing, relationships, and we have to continually look at the programming, and we have to look at how we're creating a space that feels like it's for everyone. And again, it's like some years I feel like we do some things, and then some years those things fall off, and then some. It's like, can we just try some things, pick these things for the next 3 years or whatever, we're going to do that, and that's. But it's hard to have that consistency.
I love relationships. I think that is, for me, I know it's the most important
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I look at my own path with all of this. I'm here because of our relationship with Joy Wallace. There are other UUs, Unitarian Universalists, coming here because I've talked about it in UU spaces.
Yeah.
And you know, I can walk down Main Street here and run into a bunch of my colleagues.
Yeah.
And they do feel safe, they do feel held, they do feel heard, and there's stuff for them to do here.
Yeah.
But they would never have come if it wasn't for the relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably
huge.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
I want to know, what are you doing? I want to, because like
Like in the world?
in the world, because so you know, I know of some of your work as far as facilitating really tough conversations.
Yeah.
And I've looked at that work as an example to bring with me into many different settings, including the board for Wild Goose, where I'm asking them, so in the succession planning, who is the next person of color? Who is the next trans person? Who, you know, asking them and challenging them. So what's going on in your world?
Well, I am really focused on healing and resilience in our movements, in our social justice movements, and also in our faith-rooted justice movement world. And so I am currently working on a movement chaplaincy training, and I was so excited about this because this is really about bringing healing and resilience to our movements in a way that makes the leadership more sustainable. Just like there are hospital chaplains or military chaplains, what if we had chaplains who were focused on people in our social justice movements and on our organizers, on our faith leaders, on our activists, saying the same things that chaplains say in other instances, you know, checking in with them about how they're doing spiritually, emotionally, how their relationships are, asking them what they need, helping them learn to advocate for themselves. All kinds of things that, you know, that we're still struggling with in movement spaces. Sometimes, you know, we're treating each other just as bad or worse than corporations and the rest of the world, right? So how do we, if we're trying to make social change, if we are trying to create a different world where there's more love, more justice, more liberation, then that should include rest and community and eating together and taking care of one another. Like, you shouldn't have to put all your emotional needs, you know, if somebody has you know, a nervous breakdown as an activist, we're like, oh, just go away, go take a sabbatical, go off. Like, we want to put them away.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't happen. And we actually need to acknowledge that we have emotional, spiritual needs.
Sure.
And that we have to take care of one another. And so this is an emerging vocation that we've seen at my work with Faith Matters Network. And so we decided to develop a training in order to actually get people to a place where they feel like they can do this work in the world. Because some people are already stepping in as movement chaplains. I call myself the justice doula. Like, there are those of us doing healing work in movement space. And I would even consider Wild Goose a movement space. Like, this is a place where people are becoming awakened to movement. And actually, we were talking about in the office at the beginning that we should probably have a chaplain on the team for, you know, for the staff
Real.
and the volunteers and the board and the, like, we need to have a chaplain. And that had come up before, you know, again, like I'm saying, we think of things and then we're like, oh, we should do that. And then maybe try it for a year. And we're like, oh yeah, we have talked about having a chaplain on the team before. And, you know, I think that's really a thing. I mean, I basically stepped in and did that for Beck on the first day because she was running around crazy and was dehydrated and all this. And I was like, all right, let's do this. I'm getting in the cart with you, and I'm gonna make sure you drink stuff, and we're gonna make a list, and we're gonna get things done. And that's what she needed in that exact moment. And so it's like, that's what I'm seeing is how do we make this sustainable? Whether it's coming together for 4 days, whether it's a march, whether it's a community meeting, how do we make this sustainable? And there are particular ways we can do that center around the needs, the basic human needs we have for connection, for food, for water, for love. And that's what I'm trying to bring into the world.